Anthony.
Hey man, how you doing?
I'm very well. Great to have you, man.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you having me, man. We talk about some stuff, man. Talk about life a little bit,
Y-
huh?
That's what it's about. And I actually can't wait for this hour. I've been really looking forward to it since the first time I reached out to you. And the funny thing is, the people might ask, how did you get in touch with Anthony Trucks? So
You sent me a
and
message, didn't you? I think it
yeah,
was
yeah,
some.
I sent
Yeah,
you an email, but that was because I've seen you on Tom Bilyu, and your name popped up during the talks with Brent Bouchard as well.
yeah.
So I started checking you out, and I really love the content that you're spreading. And I
Thank you.
just feel that these kind of things are so crucial, independent from the genre you are in.
Yeah,
And be, I'm let's put it this way. Um, I think that people who have gone through a lot of struggles and made their way through it are always capable of giving advice to people that are facing those struggles that you overcame already.
I don't know if they're always capable. I think they may have. The only funny thing is, I think sometimes we'll go through things and overcome them, but either sometimes we'll put it into the bucket, which I think is sometimes the wrong bucket. So like we'll attribute it to the wrong thing sometimes.
Yeah,
But I also think some people they just they also have things they get through and they have this bit of anger or spite. So I do think that people who have gone through things are more equipped sometimes to handle these situations, to talk to it, but I don't know if they're always the best teachers. I think that in my experience, there's things that I've gone through that I've experienced, and I know I shouldn't have been teaching about it because I wasn't in the right mind or I didn't solve it the right way. But I
yeah,
do agree. I do agree to an extent for sure. If I'm going to learn from somebody, I want someone who's walked my shoes, but
yeah.
I also want somebody who wants to get where I want to get emotionally as well.
That's super important, I
Hmm.
feel. And what I can just say is, we might not have done everything the right way back then
Yeah.
when we were not, I call it failed. Well, it's actually a lesson that we've learned, and we grew from it. So,
Yeah.
and actually what I mean by giving advice is giving advice in terms of you shouldn't probably do it the way I have done it.
Oh yeah, you can do that. Yeah,
you know so but in the end it got us to the place where we are now. And
true.
I
Very
just
true.
I just found your story very inspiring. And the people out there, especially from the music field, that are watching right now, they probably don't know a lot about you yet, but I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure that they will start checking you out and want to know a couple of background information from you. So, um, I mean, the first thing that popped up was the NFL
Yeah.
road that you have taken.
Mhm.
Can you tell us a little bit about the story, how it came to that? Was it always your dream that you wanted to get there?
No, it wasn't actually. So NFL is big, but I know it's National Football League, professional football in America, and it's a very
Yeah,
big deal out here. Everybody, it's football is king for a lot of people's families and lives. But no, football growing up wasn't even a thing for me. I didn't even play football until I turned 14. I wanted to, but I was given away into what's called the foster care system when I was a kid at 3 years old. So a lot of my upbringing was just a lot of like just bad stuff from bad people doing bad things. And so I had a really troublesome and emotionally difficult childhood. And so football was a good outlet at a certain point. But at that point, I just wanted to try a sport. It's like, I just want to try something. I didn't even consider like the NFL as a real option until like my sophomore, junior year in college or university, we'll call it, which is where for us, we have like you play youth level, which is, just your kids. Then you go and
yeah,
play in high school, which is our, kind of like our elementary and I don't know what you guys call it, preparatory school maybe. And then we have university and you go professional. And so for us, like I was thinking like it was amazing just to get to college and play at the university, like just
yeah.
to get a scholarship, have somebody play for my university education and my bachelor's degree. Like that's amazing. To go to the NFL was like unheard of, especially as a foster kid. Like most people don't know if you go to any prison in America, 75% of the inmates are former foster kids. So like
Really?
yeah, man, it's bad. Like a lot of us just end up in jail. And so I'm not supposed to do well. Half of our homeless population have spent time in foster care. And less than 1%, hey, Val, how are you doing? Less than 1% of us ever graduate from college. So like the statistics are not good. So NFL was not a thought growing up at all. It just, it was a lot of things working in the right direction that all of a sudden turned into like, wow, I actually have the ability. What's up, Stu? I have the ability to play at this higher level. So that's when football came in. But the journey there sucked, man. It's
I can
riddled with ups
imagine.
and downs. Yeah, it's you know, not only is it hard. So most things we dream to accomplish, all of us, we dream for something that's typically harder than what we have. It just naturally is going to be. The reason is because it's new and it's different, it's exciting. And then we go and try to accomplish it. And I don't care what that is. It could be writing a song, making music, getting a job, right? Along that path, you start to realize all the things that that dream demands of you naturally. And it demands more time, more energy, more patience, more pain, like more sacrifice. It just demands more of you. And the reality is you'll start feeling a little bit of the discomfort in the path there. And it's up to you to choose, am I still going to keep giving this dream what it wants of me? Or do I stop and stop giving more than I want to give right now? And that's where the I think the great people start to separate themselves. And those who achieve greatness is they're willing to make the sacrifice. It doesn't mean that because you didn't, you're bad. It doesn't mean you're bad because you didn't make the sacrifice. It
Yeah.
just means that it wasn't that important to you, and that's okay. But that's the reality for me. At one point, I was like, you know what? I want to do more in this sport. I want to play football, and that forced me to have to do way more than I ever wanted to do. But I got way more than I ever thought I could have.
That's beautiful. That's great to hear, man. And well, you see, there's so many
Simone's on here.
parallels.
Hey, Simone. Yeah.
There
Good.
are so many parallels between the musical world, because there's a lot of people that I'm teaching, because we are doing the so-called mentorship, and that's
Yeah.
a one-on-one that I'm doing. I'm teaching everything that I know from my experience that I've learned. I've released on mostly every dance label out there, and that's what a lot of people want to achieve. The thing
Yeah.
is, they putting in the effort, and they are facing brick wall at some point, because they can't figure out, why does that guy at the same level as I am, how does that guy get to the point of overcoming that hurdle and I don't,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
getting frustrated, they're
Hmm.
getting emotional about it, they're getting into the motions,
Yeah.
and
Hmm.
then start doubting themselves.
And they
And
start taking actions, and then they start
yeah,
getting frustrated, and then they operate from a place of anger, and yeah, it's a vicious cycle.
it's a vicious cycle, and most of the people that I'm working with can't find their real way out, until sometimes I just do 1 or 2 sessions with them, and then it flips the switch. You
Yeah.
know, all of a sudden it's just like crystal clear, and all of a sudden it's the program is running. You know, where most of
Yeah.
the time, we talked about this earlier, that most of the people are struggling finding their identity,
Yeah.
and that's actually something you are an expert in,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
So
I don't know if it's finding is the thing. It's so I'm good at shifting. That's my big thing. I teach you to shift the identity. I think finding the identity is interesting because you don't. It's already there. We already have an identity,
yeah,
right?
yeah, true, yeah.
Everybody has one. The thing is, we start thinking, okay, what is it that I want to have? And we focus on what do I want to have? And the problem with doing that when it comes to trying to achieve a goal is you start saying, okay, well, then what do I got to do to have the thing that I want to have? And if you only focus on what to do, you lose sight of what is the most important piece. A lot of us know what to do to have the thing. Like you said, a lot of people will do certain things. But there's that moment in time where it doesn't matter what you know. It doesn't matter what you know you should do because you don't feel like it's you. You feel the imposter syndrome. You feel like, well, what if I get outed for not being as good as I say I am? What if I get embarrassed? What if somebody better than me sees me and makes fun of me? And the reality is you don't think it's who you are. Now, imagine if it was the person who just is the person at a core level. They know they are that amazing human. Well, they don't question whether they should do it. They already have the thing because they do the things. So what I've realized, it's about not finding your identity, but saying, what's my current identity? what's the identity of the person that has the things I want to have because they do the things that I should do. And then if I start looking at what has to take place to shift into that identity, you'll find along that journey, two things amazing happen. One is you actually make the accomplishments that you want to make, like you do, because you'll make the money, get the break, you'll figure it out, right? You'll get there. But the coolest part of it is, what's up, Stephen? This guy's Stephen Meller. I don't know if you guys know. This guy is a beast on social. You got to go. I don't know. I'm just letting you know, man. I see your face. I like your stuff, bro.
Yeah, of course. Cool.
I'm sending my team his posts fairly often. I'm like, this guy's smart, man. Anyway, so the idea is like when I get to the point of realizing what are the things I got to do, man, it starts changing the game because you start seeing like, oof, the things that I got to do, I already know to do, but I'm not showing up as the human being to get that done yet. So my work is like, I want you to accomplish that thing, which you will. You accomplish that goal, but here's the beautiful part: you don't accomplish something without transforming along the way. It's a dual journey. If I want to, I don't know, say I want to build a statue, right? I eventually will learn the skills and show up in a way where I transform into a guy who's not just building a statue, but I'm a sculptor now. Like, look at me, man. I feel different about myself. And you also can't if you want to say achieve something, you can't achieve something, vice versa, the other. So I can't achieve without transforming. I also can't transform without achieving. So if I'm going to feel different, I got to achieve something of sustenance and greatness in my life. And so what ends up happening is people want to separate the two. What do I got to do? What do I got to accomplish to get this done? They don't think about, no, how do I got to show up differently? And they also say, I want to transform. I want to be a better human in this, but they're not focused on things they got to do. And so what happens is you're doing these things in opposition, and it's always just weird because you're not saying, hey, along this journey, I'm going to try and achieve this thing. But I know that along this journey of achievement, something's going to come up that is just going to be difficult for me, and I'm going to have to transform. But in the transformation, I'm going to have the achievement. And it's a back and forth weaving consistently. So when I set out with people, the big thing I'm doing is like, hey, how do we get to this place? What does it look like? Okay, great. Let's get going. But realize we're waiting for you to run into what I call identity walls. There'll be a wall of something that you get to and you go, I'm not the one that does that. Oh, I don't reach out to people that I don't know. I don't talk to people that, that I've never met before. I don't post that kind of stuff, or I don't record I don't write those kind of songs, whatever it may be. When you start saying I don't do X, you're pretty much saying I won't have X.
Yeah,
you made a commitment.
True.
So when I do this stuff with identity, I'm hoping this is making sense for everybody. If it makes sense for you guys, feel free to let me know it makes sense. What I look at the things like, it's not what you know, it's who you are with what you know. And here's a moment I can take people to, and I always talk about. There's going to be a moment where you've learned the stuff, you've read the books, you've been in the class, you've done all that kind of stuff. And you'll show up to a moment and you'll be met with it. Like, here's the reality of what I got to do. You'll be met with this moment. And what it looks like is, I know I got to do blank, but I'm tired. I had an argument. I don't feel like I'm in the right mood. What if I do wrong? We make all these excuses and then we stop. And here's the question that I force my clients to ask. And this is where they get so much more success. We'll plan out stuff they got to get done. We'll say, here's your goal. Here's what you want to get. Because I'm big about helping people get that level of control where they have a sense of actual, like, absolute power with what they want to create and accomplish in life. They'll have a plan for that. And we'll get down the path, and then they'll get to a point where they're supposed to do something. And then, Eddie, they get there and they go, oh, but man, I can't get this done this week. I have a speech coming up, or I got a conversation, or I got a call, or, I got this meeting, or they'll give me some reason why they have to take this thing that's difficult and move it to a later date. And I stop and I go, okay, well, you want this thing? Let me ask this question. The person who has that thing, would they make this same excuse right now? The answer is no. Right? So you telling me it's the information, the connections, what you tell me, or is it right in this moment, you're not showed up as the right person? Because that person who has that, they wouldn't even consider stopping right now. It wouldn't cross their mind. They're in a different echelon of what they're thinking through. That's why I lean on to people like, it's not just what you know, but it's who you are with what you know.
That's super interesting. It's for a couple of people who have not been in. I mean, it's a lot of things going on. It's a lot of mindset thing. It's a lot of achievement, having the balls actually to go for it. Because I mean, that's actually, well, I'll do it tomorrow, or I'll do it next week. I have to do this thing and that thing. It's just like people like to stay in their comfort zone, right?
We do. We do.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, the funny part is, I just thought about this earlier. Like, the comfort zone is an interesting bubble because the comfort zone you live in gives you what you want. But the people that have that greater thing, they're in their own comfort zone, but that level
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
outside your comfort zone.
100%.
Think about it,
That's
like,
yeah,
this is where
true.
your comfort zone is. They're out
Yeah.
here. For them, this is comfortable. For
I
you,
know.
outside of it, so there's that bubble of discomfort. It's like, yeah, but the issue isn't like you don't know something. It's just, oh, I don't know who I don't know if I could do that. Is it me? They don't question it. Hell yes, it's who they are to do it. But they at
Yeah.
one point were here too. They just stepped out of that line and led to a different space to become the person who now is comfortable doing the uncomfortable.
That's true. I experienced actually the same thing 2 years ago when I started to dive into actually working on myself and controlling and raising awareness. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So because when I started to raise my awareness about the things that I've been actually doing during the day, and at the end of the week, I look back, I've worked like a beast and I have achieved nothing. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? I've worked a lot, but haven't achieved a lot. And I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
a lot of people who are watching can agree to that, especially also, and it doesn't matter if they're from the music side or anyone else who's watching.
Anybody's life. I can tell you why
Yeah,
they do that. You want to know why?
yeah, tell me.
This ain't gonna be fun, people. But this is the one that if you guys get nothing from this time with us, this is the most important. It's the catalyst to all growth.
Yes.
I heard years ago someone give us metaphor of imagine getting this ladder out. You lean this ladder against a building and you just because it's the first building you saw and you start huffing and puffing. You climb to the top of this ladder. You get to the top of the ladder, and the top of the building. You look at it and go, "Oh my gosh, this ladder is leaned against the wrong building. I did all that work. I climbed this ladder. It's not even the place I wanted to go, right? So it's still in the same place. What I was looking for isn't there." And what I've noticed in life is a lot of people, when it comes to trying to find success, they'll look for their heroes and go, I'm going to do what that person does. And so they start doing those things. And then they do get to that point you're saying, well, I'm still broke. I'm still broken down inside. I don't have no progress and I'm burnt out. I am dead. And it's like, yeah, because what you chose to do was use the key for somebody else's lock.
True.
You wanted to
Powerful.
use all
Yeah.
their habits,
Yeah.
but you didn't realize that you were supposed to have ones specific to you being implemented. My man Vinny's on too. This is cool, man. It's a good time to do. Everybody's hanging out today. So the idea is Vinny's a world-renowned skater. He's an amazing videographer. He actually did a Goldcast video with us. The dude's a beast. I've known him for years. Good friend. Anyways, love you, dude. But the idea is like we all get to that space. Oh, I lost my train of thought. We were talking about the lock. We all borrow other people's habits and structure and systems. We don't think
Yeah.
about, well, what are the ones that are my lags? And I call them zone
That's
lags. I think when you
yeah,
get to
yeah,
the
yeah.
right identity, you're in the zone, right? But there's things that are keeping you behind and some lags you have. When you borrow other people's things and don't focus on your stuff that you need to do, you'll never make the progress. You'll do a lot of stuff, but never get anywhere. And so what I tell people to do is you got to go back and take a look at what are your specific things to work on. I mean, genuinely, it's not fun to see. It's
No,
not.
it's not. It's not. I've been there. I've been there.
Most of
I've
the time, you'll hear things that make you like, oof, puck your butt up, like, oh, hurt your heart. But until you hear that, you'll keep doing the same things. You keep getting the same outcome. And the stuff that you got to work on and move the needle, it's going to be painful not only to hear but also to work on.
That's true. And I couldn't agree more. And actually, especially in the music business, it's probably the same as in the sports business or entertainment business or whatever. There's always most of the people are tending to want the things that others have achieved, right?
Yeah,
So a lot of people tend to do that.
yeah.
Whereas they might give their everything to step into that person's shoes, and as you said, they won't find themselves in their head like, hold on a second, this is the wrong building. kind of thing.
Yes,
You
well, I'm
know?
building. And on
Yeah.
top of that, they won't even, you'll never actually see all the things that they did, man. There's no
Yeah.
way
True. Yeah.
they won't even realize it. It's going to be those moments when, you know, they met the person and they were able. So for example, think about this. There's probably a point in time when you meet somebody, right? You run into this person. Well, what if, let's say, an hour before that, you got in an argument with somebody and you just absorbed that and had this funky energy and you're just in a bad mood. And then you meet this person. It could have been a great conversation, but you're in a bad mood. So that dies, right? Well, what if you're the kind of individual at the identity level where you go, you know what? I don't let these emotional moments affect my future moments. Part of who I am is I realize things are going to go wrong throughout a day, but I don't live in it, right? Think about this. If I'm like Kevin Hart or I'm The Rock or I'm, I don't know, Scarlett Johansson, and I had a bad, argument with my husband and I show up to set, I can't go, hey, everybody, I had a bad argument. I can't do my job today. Like, I can't show up like that today. Like, no, you're a pro. You show up. That just happens. You just know how to deal with it, right? But if your identity is like, it's not something you can control in an emotional space, you'll ruin parts of your life without even knowing it. So that person that has what you want right now, you think it's just they learned this skill set. They had this tactic. They did this thing. There's so much more behind the scenes because your identity shows through when you're not thinking about it. Your identity is who you are when you aren't thinking about who you are. It's just how I do my thing, right? And that is the magic sauce. Because that person will fight for certain things when it comes time to fight for what they deserve. They'll show up in different moods. They'll look at the world with different perspectives. Like I've always noticed the people I talk to who are at a high level, I sit with them and I ask, hey, who were you back when you were unsuccessful? And they do this. They go, man, I was somebody else back then. I was different. I was a different person, man. Like I thought different. I acted different. I saw things different. I had different environment. Like it's different to them. They can't even put their head back there. You know what I mean? Like it's out of the bag now. So when I'm talking to people, I'm trying to explain to you, look, it's the information is necessary. I get it. But what's more important is who you are with it. Because if you're that right person, you'll go down the pathway just to figure it out. Because there is way more learned on the journey than in the books. We buy
I couldn't
books of
agree more.
people,
Yeah.
right? So what if you were the person to go down the journey? I mean, yeah, read books to shortcut the process, get information, don't be naive. But like the information you're seeking, it's really going to happen along the pathway. But if you aren't the person to do it, or you don't try to be that person, you never get that true information to get to that level you're looking at somebody at.
Wow. That's absolutely true. So I couldn't agree more, man. And what I was also thinking about just now is, now imagine you've stepped into one a different person's shoes and achieved something and get on
Yeah.
top of that building. The
Yeah.
thing is, like you said, if problems occur, then you probably won't fight through it as strong as it was your own journey. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And also, if you're facing struggles and getting to a limit where you normally say, okay, I can't do more than this, most of the people, now imagine if you're following your own journey and you're getting to that point of exhaustion, do you think you will burn out or find a way how to keep going and getting back into the balance? Whereas if you are on the other person's shoes, you probably more likely to let it drop, right? So and also like
Yeah.
it burns out as well, you know?
Yeah.
So
It's a, how to explain it? It's like the level of effort. Here's what I'll talk about like this. When it is who I am to do something, it becomes effortless effort. For
absolutely right.
example,
Yeah.
if it's who I am to show up on a stage when I speak and kill it, right? The effort that goes into that is effortless because I, as a human, my ego will force me to stay in line with how I identify myself.
Yeah.
Right. So what happens is the efforts, they're easy because in fact, it would be hard for me not to do it. It would be harder for me to go to bed at night and, not have completed my workout than it is for the person who doesn't work out to force themselves to work out. Because there's different levels of energy, right? I have to force myself to work out. Right? Whereas for me, it's like, dude, I love it. I feel bad if I
Yeah.
don't get a good workout in. So
Oh
let's think
yes.
about
Yeah.
this. At the end of a 6-month period, who's in better shape? The person who they couldn't miss a workout because it was who they were and they enjoyed working out, or the person who kept missing workouts because it was like pulling teeth to get it done because it wasn't who they are to work out.
True. Yeah, that's what I
It's
meant.
the same actions. I'm not burned out. In fact, I'm happier because I feel damn good about myself. It's who I am.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are like, they look at the energy and the actions and they're stuck at this ground zero because they're not looking at the work and going, how do I become the person who finds joy in this? They're saying, oh, I want what that person has, but I got to do this. I'm not the person that does this. They're battling themselves. Whereas I'm like, no, dude, I see something I want. What do I got to do? Okay, great. How do I fall in love with that thing? How do I fall in love with the day, not just the destination? Destination will get there if I do what's right and I fall in love with the day. And it happens easily and smooth. And after a while, that thing becomes my new normal. And I'm looking at the next big goal and I adapt to that. Whereas most people are stuck at the bottom, always fighting. Imagine people who are like fighting crash diets for their entire life. Like my family, I grew up in an all-white family, and like we had people that were heavyweight, and like, you know, they're heavy set and they're overweight, actually is what I meant. But like the diet thing is always and forever been a battle and a challenge because they never identified as the person who's in shape. They always are like, I want to be this same person, but be less fat. It doesn't work that way. You got to become that human. So now what happens, the work you do, it's enjoyable, actually. It's effortless because it's who you are to do it. So you have to stay in alignment there every day, where some people just, oh, I hate it. And they always fall in and out of it. It's kind of a back and forth. How do I fall in love with the day, she says? That's a good question.
Yeah. So that's actually something that two people that I'm doing mentorships with actually are struggling with. They want to achieve something. They want to achieve that big goal. Like, okay, once I achieve that goal, I'll be happy, you know, but until then, I'm not happy. So like you said, you need to fall in love with the day. And I try to, it's really hard to explain a person who has never been aware actually of emotions and stuff like that. And it's actually, you have to be a ninja to learn that stuff, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So I'm just curious, how do you make that shift? How do you make that shift from
to fall in love with the day?
Yeah.
So we actually have a method called the shift method to do this. And here's what I'll tell you. There's something that happens at a moment that no one can put their finger on that allows you to actually fall in love with it. And it's like it just flips into it. And I'll tell you in a second, but here's the reality is you're right. If I'm taking a trip, where are you at? Norway right now?
No, in Germany.
Germany? Oh, it's right.
Yeah, close to Düsseldorf. Close to Düsseldorf.
There you go. Once you go over the pond, it's hard for me. My brother's in Germany. I think we did talk about that. But like, say we go to Germany, right? If I'm gonna leave my house, I'm gonna go to your place. Let's say it's an amazing, we're at the best hotel out there by Düsseldorf, right? The best hotel I'm going to. If I leave my house and my car breaks down and I have to miss the flight, and then I get another flight and it's delayed, and then I go from business class to economy for some reason, and like I have a baby crying next to me the whole time, and there's a bunch of turbulence, and I land in the wrong airport, I got to rebook the flight. Like if I have a horrible trip,
that's the story of my life. That's the story of my life when touring.
I don't doubt it, man. So say I do all of that. If I show up to the hotel and it's beautiful, I don't automatically go, I'm in a good mood now. Like, you know, like I go there and I go, all you do for the next 3 days, you don't even care how great the destination was. You're in a bad mood still because you hated the distance of the journey to get there. But what if I leave my house, I get there smooth, they upgrade me from economy to first class, I get to sleep flat the whole time, I land where I want to land, my hotel room's ready early, and I get there and it's the wrong hotel room. I'd be bothered, but I'd be like, it's cool. Hey, I had a good trip.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
I'll get to my room a little bit later. Cool. I'm gonna go take a walk. I'm in a good mood. I had a great trip, right?
Yeah.
So if you can love the journey, the destination when you get to it, it's okay if it's not the greatest right now. You'll get there, right? And then you say, how do I fall in love with the day? It's a great question. How do I love and fall with the day? Here's what I found. There's this thing that takes place through the process of creation where I end up falling in love because I invest energy. There's that feeling of love we're talking about, right? Love is an emotion, and emotions come on the backside of actions. So if I walk in the house to you, Eddie, and I punch you in your throat, You're not going to love
I would
me.
love that. I would say, hey, thank you, Anthony. I love that.
You're not going to like it. You're going to be like, this guy, you'd be pissed, right? But think about it. If I walk in there and I give you a high five and a dab up, hug real quick, you'd be like, I like this guy. It feels good, right? The feeling comes in a backside of action. So I've noticed I got to take an action in a certain direction. And when it comes to falling in love with the day, there's two ways I look at focusing on this. The first one is I want to focus on actively seeking the joy in the moment. So my wife, I'm like the handyman for her houses. She has like 5 properties that are all businesses we run. And I'm the handyman. And I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not always a fan of leaving in the middle of my workday to go fix toilets or to put things up and go to Home Depot. I'm not a big fan of it. However, I love the 30-minute drive with my wife to have conversations about life. I love the music I get to listen to on the radio when I'm going there and in my headphones when I'm doing the work sometimes.
Yeah.
I love the feeling of the accomplishment when I've got it done and she says, thank you, honey. And I like, I feel good, right?
Yeah.
So I actively find ways to appreciate this moment that I didn't want to be in. Yeah. And that's the first part of it. I fall in love by appreciating the process of finding actively the things I like within it. I do it all the time. She asked me to do a bunch of stuff and I'm like, whatever, I'll do it because I'm going to find joy, right?
Dude, that's amazing.
Yeah. The second thing is a process this is the action thing. It's a statement. Write this down, people. What you create creates you. Now we talk about getting to that love point. There's a journey that goes through love where eventually I get to this point that's amazing. Here's what the journey looks like. I think this might be the most important one. That's She's housework. I love it. So, Sophia. Oh yeah, with the organization. I've done podcasts with her. Here's what I look at. Ideology magazine, I think it is. So what I've noticed is whenever I look at the journey of getting to a point of loving something, it's very hard in the beginning and the process sucks. I meet it and I do the action. It's like a 10 of 10 of pain. I hate how this feels, right? It sucks. And then I go, okay, but you know what? Let me do it. It feels bad. And most people go, I'm going to walk away because this is too painful. I don't want to do this again. This sucks, right? I'm walking away. And so they leave the whole moment with an amazing lesson they could have used to make that 10 a 9.5, right? They just leave it. Some people go, I'm going to try it again. People go, you're crazy. Why would you try it again? You just bombed. Yeah, but I got to get better. They try it again. It's 9.5. 9.5 still hurts. Most people go, that hurts. I'm leaving. Smart people go, try it again. Really? Yeah, it's a 9, right? We keep doing this. Some people keep leaving the journey. Some people keep saying, I'm going to keep sticking. Even though it's painful, I'm going to keep doing it. And eventually they get to this process where they get to score 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. They get to 0. And people assume at 0, it's this painless moment. Like, I can do it. There's no pain. Wrong. What it comes out to be, Eddie, is joy and love. This thing I hated doing, I'm so good at it, bro. I love doing it. Put me on anytime you want. I got this, right?
Wow.
And my energy, and I'm in a different space. And here's what takes place. That process was the creation process. That's creating a business, creating a marriage, creating a relationship that's amazing, creating a tool or a piece of software, creating a sculpture, right? When you go through the process and you've gotten so good, you love how you show up and do it, it's not just this thing you do anymore. It's no longer just this, I do this thing. It's who you are. You've actually shifted your identity through the creation process. So what you created creates you. Does that make sense?
It's that 100%.
And that's what we're building towards.
Yeah, and I see so many parallels between. I was just thinking about all these people that I'm working with and have been working with so far, and the issues that they're having. And this is worth gold that you've just said. This is, if people need to suck that in, everyone needs to write that down and just read it every morning again, So I think that's super powerful. And that's the key for getting there,
Yeah,
so
that is the process. I wish I could say it was like a short path, but it's not. But you also don't, like you said, you don't want to shortcut the path. Because if you shortcut the path, then you miss out on all that gold. You miss out on that amazing sense of this is who I am. And now that it's who you are, it's easy to do those things, which means it's easy to have the things you want. That's the process. Who am I? How do I become that person? How do I transform and achieve to where I eventually am doing these things consistently? And now it's who I am.
Yeah. And that's exactly how my journey came along over the last couple of years. You said it earlier, when I look back, just 2 years, I've been a complete different person. I was lost, I was sitting here, didn't know what to do, what direction to take and all that stuff. And you know what flipped my switch? I was actually traveling back from Berlin here to Düsseldorf. I was visiting my girlfriend in Berlin, and I was just like, leaving a loved one behind is always tough,
Yeah.
So I was quite emotional. And then I said, what am I going back to now? Everything that I'm working on is not really, I'm not feeling it,
Yeah.
And you know what? I've never heard of awareness, mindset, and all that kind of stuff. Like it just, I'm a youngster to that. That just started like 2.5 years ago. And what I stumbled upon on Spotify? High Performance Habits. And I just Brent put that book on for free to listen to, and I just started. And half an hour into that book, I was just like, I need to stop. And I was just like, dude, I was just like heartbroken, because the first time somebody got how I felt exactly in that moment, And then I started, if you find something that you can identify with, you want more of that, So I've been actually, I bought the book, I started diving into it and sucked it all in. And from that day on, you start progressing, you start to search for more, and who else is doing stuff like this, and who else, and what else could help me. Let's dive a little bit into meditation and all that kind of stuff. And then I went to Joe Dispenza, and he actually, the message that he carried on with the meditation was like gold for me. And so I did one meditation, and that flipped it for me. And since then I started to work. It was really, really hard at the beginning. You know what I'm talking about. And but that's where I said, this is what I'm going to do. I need to teach the people the stuff that I've been having issues with. I need to teach the people exactly that, and my way, how I got out of it, And in the end, that's what people, there are thousands of people out there that are in that same position, that haven't found a solution yet, What, and that's something that I wanted to ask you as well.
Someone asked a question. Yeah. What are the steps to do it?
Yeah. What are steps to do it?
Yeah. I got you. It's actually, I got a book. Oh, here, it's in my book here. So if you guys
Nicholas.
If you guys want, go to identityshiftbook.com and grab the book. It comes out August 24th, but like, I'm doing the audio book for free if you get a copy, and then digital book and a workbook that'll guide you through the process. But here's the baseline that I look at. It's all unpacked in the book, but we'll call it the 50,000 foot overview. The biggest things you got to do is look at my goal, and everybody's goal should be, how do I shift into the zone identity? Like, what it's like to be in a zone? You ever heard of that? Like,
of course.
It's just like, you're just moving, man. Yes, it is. Sophia, it's on Amazon now. It's kind of like, if you go to identityshiftbook.com, it'll take you to Amazon to get the book and go put a code in to get some freebies. But the idea is like, I want to get people into that zone, man. I want to get you to where like your mind's focused, distractions don't get in, you're more productive, you're just dialed, you're happier, you're more joyous, you get back more, like your confidence is strong and impenetrable, right? I want that level of what people have. So I'm like, okay, how do I get you to that zone? There's like 3 steps, and it's see, shift, sustain. And the way that I work people through it is like, think about the first stage of see. I need you to see your zone lags. That's the first stage. And this is something where in our coaching programs, we guide people through a process that allows you to see yourself. Because the hard thing is, and I've someone said this a while ago, but it's hard to see the label when you're inside the jar.
True.
Makes sense, right? I can't see who I think I.
Oh,
I think
man,
sure,
that's good. That's so good, man. It's so great.
So it's like, I think I know what I am, who I am, but we really don't. And so sometimes you need people that can see your label to give you a viewpoint of what your label, what's really going on. So you go, oh, okay, yeah, I got to work on that. And your ego has to subside long enough for you to actually work on it. Because the biggest thing is, like, a lot of people, they'll sometimes know, but they're like, I don't want to work on it. No, I'm good. I'm smart. I know my thing. I don't need your help. But it's like, no, you actually probably do. Like, but if you give yourself that, you're never going to give yourself permission to improve. So you don't improve. So the first stage is see. Find out what your zone lags are, keeping you from getting into the zone, right? And it's different for everybody. Second is to shift. The shift is the actual work, and it's what I call a personalized shift plan. We talked about earlier about habits people borrow. I'm going to borrow this person's habits, that person's habits. And I go, no, you should do two things. One, you should seek out the type of identities you want to shift into, find out the pieces that are comprising that and make that identity up, and then go, okay, great. What are the things based on my zone lags that I want to do to shift? What's my personal plan, right?
Yeah.
That's literally got to be unique to you. That's the shift. And it's got to be things that are like habits you take. Like you have to change your habits, right? That's a big piece of it. What are the big actions that you take? The big asks, the big stops, the big quits. Maybe you quit smoking, quit that guy or girl because they're not good for you. If you quit drinking every weekend, right? There's a big stop. There's big actions you take and you put in other habits, right? There's certain things you do. And then once you have your personalized shift plan you're moving towards, this is what I've found to be the most important portion. We call it the creation process, right? It's sustain. That sustain piece, that is the 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. And what it is, it's a disciplined system. So what I'm really big on is once I know what my holes are, I know what I got to do to plug the holes. Do I plug the holes and do I do it long enough and pass the pain enough to where I eventually become that new person? At my core, do I look in the mirror and go, damn it, you're a coach, you're a speaker, you're an author, you're a football player, you're a mom, you're a dad. Do I do it long enough? Do I have a disciplined system in place? This is a couple of things. This is boundaries set. It's a certain circle I hang with. It's the way I run my morning. There's a certain system you create that allows you to stay disciplined and go through the process. And if you can do that properly, those stages, it changes. It shifts to a whole new identity to where you will. And the thing is, it doesn't happen in like, all right, guys, in 43 days and 17 minutes and 22 seconds, I'm going to have a new identity. I'm going to shift my identity. No, it doesn't happen that way. It happens when you just get into this. You start working. It's hard at first. You ever like sat down for like a work period and the first 5 minutes are difficult and then you pop up 60 minutes later and go, where'd the time go?
Well, I mean, I'm in music creation, so hell yeah, I know that
You know
kind
what
of
I'm saying?
stuff, you know.
Same thing. It's exact same.
It's not 60
Same for
minutes,
me.
it's like a whole day, you know?
Yeah, dude, I get it. I used to do like 16-hour days at Starbucks. I would go in and sit down. I'd be like, damn, where did the last 16? That was weird. I'd be there. I'd open and close the place 4 a.m. to like 10. It was crazy. And so what ends up happening is we when we're working on this person, we've done this stuff, like in the beginning, it's hard. It's like there's new things I do and I'm picking up. But after a while, all of a sudden I start loving this. And I wake up and go, oh, I used to hate this.
Yeah.
Who is this new person now, right? You
Yeah.
pop out of it. That's what we're looking to get with the discipline system and trying to have it all intact, all dialed in. And now you start moving and you start having the achievements, having the transformations that keep happening back and forth. And all of a sudden, 3 months goes by, 4 months goes by, and you are unrecognizable to the previous self.
Speechless, man. This is amazing. This is really,
Simple,
really
yeah.
good.
It sounds simple, but there's way more to it.
Yeah, absolutely. But in the end, for me, it was a little bit when I started. Actually, I was taking my dog for a walk in the forest. At the point where I felt, okay, something's changing, because I just realized and I started smiling and just realized, dude, you're happy,
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
And that's such an amazing feeling if you just realize that you're actually happy, so because I'm doing
It's
the
a good
stuff,
place.
it's an amazing place. And one thing that is really important in my opinion as well, you don't need to do everything on your own,
No, you shouldn't. It's be very hard to.
And this
hard
guy,
to see yourself.
yeah, that's true. And there's actually this Niklas guy who asked that question before. He's actually that person that helped me get to the new person that I am today.
That's
so
awesome.
I was and I'm so grateful for all the stuff that he has done for me. He's actually a high performance coach as well. So
Nice.
so yeah. So I was just like Googling for high performance coaches in Germany, and there's like nearly no one. And his name popped up, and I said, you know what? I'm just going to write him. And now we are just very close friends.
Awesome. Yeah, it's beautiful.
And that's amazing. So, and it can't be just like coincidence somehow. It feels weird sometimes. So that all of a sudden the dots connect in a great way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
So it's
think
like a
life is
little.
an amazing plan. I think the plan in place for our lives is a beautiful plan, but we mess it up.
That's right. That's right. So yeah, I mean, I'm still digesting everything that you just said
Yeah,
because
it's a lot. You pretty
it's
much got me on
powerful.
here, and you let my whole brain come out in a
That's
live
what
stream, which
it's
is fine.
about. That's
This
what
is
it's
and it's
about.
Yeah, it's this idea is just to drop it all and make it all make sense. And some people, it's like it's above my head, and that's okay. Just keep paying attention. At some point, it'll make sense. And those who get it, the question is, all right, am I willing to do this? And one is, don't feel bad if you're not, because not everybody's prepared to do this. To be honest, not everybody is in the space to do this. But at some point in time, you will get to the point like I did, where like most people don't know this, and I talk about it periodically. But like I went through a massive shift in 2016. Like I woke up at the beginning of the year. I was like, I don't like this guy at all. Like I didn't like who I was. I'd gone through the NFL and all that kind of stuff. But at this point, I was divorced. I had, I wasn't making much money. My kids and I didn't have a good relationship. It just wasn't, my business wasn't running smooth. I was a little bit out of shape. Like I wasn't the guy that I really wanted to be. And I was like, I'm cool. Like I'm cool being this guy. I want to be somebody better now. I just woke up, I was like, I'm done not living at a higher tick and a higher level. And that decision led me down the path of figuring out what that looked like. And it was a lot of work. And it's not like, sweaty, tired work. It's an emotional drag. It's emotional drag. It's hard
Yes,
conversations.
that's
But
it.
the thing
Yeah.
is, the time's going to pass, and it would have been harder to keep being the guy I was. And so I realized at that moment for Anthony, it was time to step out of that space and build to something different. And all I did is the same thing my clients do that I do is I set in and said, okay, and I didn't do it this exact same way. I've done it better with my clients. Now I was like, hey, who am I right now? And I looked at myself and I was like, this guy sucks. Like, I don't want to, right?
Yeah,
So we
yeah,
figure
yeah.
out who is the guy. Then I go, okay, who do I want to become? And ask my clients, say, who do you want to become? Who do you want to build into? What do you want? And the vision comes out. Okay, great. Now I'm going to have this vivid vision of my future self of who I'm going to be. Great. Now let's start doing it. And then when clients start doing it, it's funny. It's like all of a sudden now their marriages get better. I've had clients, they've made, $95,000 in 4 weeks in their business that they previously couldn't figure out because they didn't realize it wasn't what you know, but it's who you are with it. When you start showing up as the right person by the actions and building the right way, all of a sudden the money comes in. I've got a guy 3 weeks ago sent me a message. He's like, hey, when we first started working, when she was at the time making like $3,000 a month in his business, he's like, since 12 months of us working, was it 12 or 18? It might have been 18 months of us working together. He's now at that time had surpassed $1,056,000 in his business. He's like, it
Wow.
can all, and
Yeah.
it all goes back to the time. So it's like we look at the money, we look at the relationship. I've got people that have lost hundreds, like 100+ pounds. It is not the outcome and the achievement isn't because of a fluke or an accident. And it's not because these people were banging their head against a wall and they hated the journey. It's because they understood what we taught them about how you make these shifts and the specific exercises we do. And when you do them that way, man, your life becomes unrecognizable because you're a different person in the same space. Now, I'm not saying all of a sudden you're going to go from like, I worship Satan to like I'm a preacher, like that's not the kind of a jump we're talking about, but you're inherently operating at a higher level.
Yes.
She
Totally
said,
agree.
Sophia has a question. She says, what are the habits I needed to change? Ooh, Sophia she wants to ask me some questions that are deep. So for me, to be honest, some of the habits I had to adjust were the habits of how I was quick to make excuses and place blame on other people. Like the market was the reason the business was bad, or, because my business was so big, like active, I couldn't be spending time with my kids because I had to train clients, or the reason the marriage failed was because my ex-wife did X, Y, and Z. When like a lot of it was like, I need to do better. It's the habits I had around exercise. I owned a gym, but I didn't train that often, to be honest. Because in my head, I'm like, I used to play professional sports. If I'm not working out to play in a game, why am I working out? What's the point? And seriously, that's what I thought. I was like, why am I working out? So all these little thoughts had to adjust. Who I was going to become had to adjust, and the habits started changing along with those. So habits started being like, I want to train because it's better for my brain. And if I focus better, I can be better at work. I can get work done faster. So I can be more present with my kids and actually be there and do more. And then if that happens and the marketplace sees me as joyous, I get more clients in because we're doing a better job with the business. And then I have more free time to spend and get in better shape and take care of it's just a cycle. It all just started like weaving in together. But yeah, habits massively have to change because you are what you consistently do, which is that creation process.
So this habits for a lot of people, they don't realize that they are having habits that should be changed, because
Yeah.
so habits are actually things that you've been rehearsing over and over and over again, that you do them without thinking about it anymore,
Pretty
right?
much. Yeah. It's
So
just, it's your natural flow.
yeah, exactly. So imagine it's actually a habit. When you wake up, you have your habit. You get out of the bed on the left side, you take your phone, you check the socials, you check emails, and all this kind of stuff, and then you're boom, you're directly in that habit again of ruining your whole morning. All the
Yeah.
that's it. Oh, who liked my tweet? Who liked my feed post, my story? No one. Just two
Yeah. So you
people,
feel
and
bad.
you're directly,
Yeah.
it drags you down. That's what I am teaching, or trying to. I'm not particular teaching that, because I'm not a coach. I'm
Hmm.
just a coach in terms of music production, and I'm
Hmm.
sharing some of the things that I've learned along the way.
Yeah.
So, and
Yeah.
for me, it's hard waking up in the morning and saying, okay, I'm getting out of the right side of the bed, and I'm not taking my phone for the next hour, and I'm going
Hmm.
downstairs, and I'm putting on my training shoes and going for a run, because in the
Yeah.
end, that stuff, that these things are better for yourself, but
You
you're
know,
not,
but we don't do them.
yeah, but you
Yeah.
don't do them, right?
Yep. Yeah.
So,
Because
and
it's not who you are. But here's the
I,
thing. I bet you won't not do it because it's who you are to do it now.
yeah, exactly. And that's actually, I'm at that point where I said, okay, if it could get messy, no, I'll probably not do it. But now I love the struggle.
Yeah.
I love to dive into it, and that's something that I need to talk to you about, because if
Hmm.
you come across an obstacle, there are two different ways of how to see it. There are probably more ways how to see it, but you can
Yeah.
say, well, I'm not good enough and I can't do it.
Yeah.
Whereas on the other hand, you could say, you know what? I'm just going to give it a try. And if it's not working, I'll find another way how to get around that
Yeah.
obstacle.
Because
Can
yeah,
you tell?
part of it is, yeah, you should not. Here's the thing: is you can't attach your identity to things that you've done or what you've had. The thing is not to attach who you are to the thing, but attach yourself to the efforts, right? There's this simple metaphor, and then Gitch.R, I'll answer this because it's a good question. He says about implementing shifts you had in mind. The biggest thing is a lot of us assume that we are the fruit of the tree. Like if it's an apple tree, I am the apple. I'm, the fruit. I'm the NFL player was that guy, and if that apple falls off the tree, we've lost the apple. The apple dies. I feel rotten inside because I'm my
Yeah.
money's gone, my
Yes.
house is
Yep.
gone, my
Yep.
car is gone, and the reality is you've never been the apple. You've always been the tree. the
Yep.
the tree created the job, created the house, created the relationship. What happens is you're attaching yourself to the outcome, not the effort of who you are. And so yeah, whenever something doesn't pan out, you think you suck, when the reality is like, no, that the action sucked or the outcome sucked, but you don't suck. You're still dope. Take care of being dope, right? Be awesome as yourself. And so yeah, when you have those moments, that's kind of idea is like, how do I get to the point of being attached to the effort and the outcomes? Because then if you do the things, you feel good about yourself. And guess what? Doing the things will get you the thing. But you got to fall in love with the action, right? It's a big piece of it. And someone says, how long did it take you to implement the shift you had in mind? So for me, the biggest one I had in 2016, that took me 10 months to be honest. But I was fumbling through it. I was like, I got to figure this stuff out. And the thing is, I'd done it all my life. We've all kind of done it in certain ways. I'd done it in a lot of ways. I had to navigate the shifts of the foster kid, the only black kid in all white family, the poor kid, the not good athlete, the good athlete, the college athlete, college dad, meeting my dad, getting married, getting divorced, all these things, man. The business being bad, changing careers, all this stuff is just, I've navigated. To be honest, I did it without knowing what I was doing. I just did it like by just survival. When I actually at this point now plan, I'm like, here's the plan of who I want to. I want to be a TV show host, right? I want to be an actor at 40. I just want to start acting for no reason. I want to try it out because I'm bored. I just like doing weird things. I just do things. And so my thing is when I go to do that, I'm not trying to go out there and be attached to whether or not I got into an A-list movie right now. Because I'd be like, I suck. I'm not an A-list movie, right? But it's like, what do I got to do? I got to fall in love with going out there and bombing every day as an actor in my acting classes, right? Because I'm attached to the effort.
Yeah.
And that gives me progression, right? So the idea is like, how do I build into something over time? And so it takes time. At this point now, if I really set my head to something new, about 90 days, I can shift a part of my, because we have multiple identities. I may be
Yeah.
a different identity mom, and or as far as a dad, or as a coach, or as a coach here, a sports coach, as a parent. There's different areas. And so what ends up happening is I can look at those areas and say, you know what, I want to adjust and I want to shift my identity there. And I'll actively work towards that. So in working towards that, it takes me about 90 days to do it like dialed. And it's work, it's energy, and it's effort. But it's the thing where I'm loving the process. I fall in love with the day. I'm attached to the effort. And now my identity is wrapped in that, and the outcomes come. So hope that answers your question in terms of like, and do I want to stop? Yes, there's times you do want to stop, but I just go back and anchor it to, this is the old school stuff, like, why am I doing it in the first place? Yeah. If I know what the outcome is going to be, then the day of me doing it, my outcomes, I want to get there, big picture. But also, no one likes to live feeling less than themselves, right? If you didn't get up in the morning and go do your run, you'd feel less like Eddie. I wouldn't feel like full Eddie. And I want to feel like full Anthony. So if I'm attached to the steps, the daily stuff, and the effort, right? I don't want to end my day feeling less like Anthony.
Yeah.
So my energy and my attachment, the reason I don't quit is I've attached myself to the actions, not the, I'm doing it for $1 million. I'm doing it to buy a house. Like that'll happen if you love this and you just attach yourself to who are you at your core. And then it all starts to go in the right, smooth direction.
One important thing that I just wanted to ask you, because I think it's, especially when you're passionate about what you do, it's you have to be quite aware as well, because it can be especially for passionate people, they get so lost in the thing that they love that they forget about the other pillars in their life. You know, and that happened to me. So I've lost. I was so focused on music because the success came, and I was touring the globe, and I was like, everything I've done musically started to evolve. But on the other hand, I let everything else down. I let my friends down, let my family down, broke up with my girlfriend back then. And so I lost everything that was giving me stability. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, it went down the spiral, you know? So it went slowly, it started to not work anymore. So this is something I want to ask you. How important is it to have a balance in your life? And what are the key pillars for you to keep in balance with?
So I got a hard stop here in a minute. I got to go to another podcast meeting, but what I will tell you, at the end of the day, it's not, I don't think it's trying to find balance. I think it's trying to find things or get rid of things that slow you down from being who you are. We do things at a typical, like, normal speed. And I find that there's too much on, it slows down my ability to go at a typical speed. So I get rid of things that don't allow me to go smooth. So like, if I have too many people that want me, to do certain things, and I gotta X myself off from answering messages, or block myself off from speeches, or I gotta stop having certain, meetings with certain people, or are putting a bunch of podcasts in my schedule. I will actually adjust my schedule to fit so I can feel like, okay, I'm moving at the pace I want. And so I think we look at like having too much. Yes, you can be doing too much, because if you don't realize that you're probably putting too much on your business side, so it's slowing down your ability to be a good boyfriend or husband or parent. If you aren't aware of that, you keep loading this up, then this just keeps getting slower. And I can't go at the pace I want to go. So a lot of things for me are heavily about like, how do I get myself in alignment with doing the things that I want to do at the speed I want them to do it in all areas, and anything that's slowing something else down, I get rid of it.
If you want another awesome video in our Black Excellence series, check out the video right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.